Army Sergeant Rex Stolniker has witnessed the horrors of war.
We had a lot of trauma coming into the hospital unit.
In his almost 3 decades of military service, this Army medic lived the day-to-day tension.
We had a couple of our vehicles that were blown up by IEDs.
That came with serving tours in both Iraq and Afghanistan. And Rex found he could cope with those experiences and memories.
The last thought on your mind is having to face death here, you know, on our own soil.
But thousands of miles from the front lines and sheltered in the friendly confines of a U.S. Army base, this soldier says he witnessed the most horrific events of his military career.
First thought that I had after I realized what was actually happening was, well, I'm going to die today.
Rex was inside the Soldiers Readiness Processing Center at Fort Hood, Texas, when he saw Army Major Nadal Hassan open fire on a room full of fellow soldiers.
And I stood up and looked over the cubicle, and I saw a soldier, his head shaved, and solemn look on his face, and was a cloud of smoke from the powder. I yelled, "Shooter." It's like the rounds never stopped firing. And I saw bullets coming through on both sides of the cubicle, and I thought, well, I need to move. As he walked by, and he would shoot the people as they were lying on the floor.
Rex says the shooter missed him after taking a different route to the back of the building.
I was looking for tourniquets, bandages, anything I could find, and there really wasn't anything there. A lot of people that were lying on the floor, bleeding and screaming and crying, and I taught a combat lifesaver course, and that day, a lot of what I taught, I didn't even use. It just, you know, I guess being so overwhelmed.
In the gory aftermath, Rex recalls turning his focus to one young soldier severely wounded.
He had been marked for dead, and when I had checked him, he still had a pulse. So I began working on him, and his heart eventually stopped. He ended up dying, and it bothers me that there were other soldiers that I could have probably saved.
It is just one of many what-ifs Rex continues to replay more than 2 years after the massacre. In all, 13 people died, and more than 24 were injured.
A lot of things take me back there. A lot of things.
He's my hero.
Rex's wife, Kathy, says witnessing the Fort Hood attack changed her husband.
I learned later that there was blood covering him head to toe, dripping literally from his uniform.
And Kathy worked to ensure the military recognized Rex for his actions in the aftermath of the shooting.
He got soldiers out of that building that day.
Rex deployed within a couple of weeks of the carnage at Fort Hood to Afghanistan. Overseas, he started sleeping no more than an hour or two a night, and Kathy recalls their conversations became short, hollow exchanges.
He came home a shell. I'd never seen anything like it. He wasn't the person that I sent out. His eyes were vacant. He was distracted.
Rex suffered fits of anger and depression. He isolated himself from friends and feared making a trip to any public place without a weapon.
Rex is 6'1", 6'2", 220, 230. He doesn't look like he can't take care of himself, but there were things that were shutting down. So I've become his caregiver. I didn't know the word PTSD or the acronym PTSD, didn't know it. So I started doing my own research. It runs in cycles. Different things trigger the symptoms of PTSD. He went hunting last year and a little bit of blood dripped on his shoes, so that caused him a flashback. They don't offer very much for couples, and PTSD does not only affect the soldier. And the thing that I would want to tell a wife or a caregiver of someone with PTSD is don't stop looking for help.
In the twilight of a long military career at age 54, Rex is just beginning what can be a lifelong, torturous battle with PTSD, a hidden but costly wound of war.
I got wounded inside. You know, it really messed with my head.